Hello everybody, I'm Lee, this is Bronte, and this is another Q&A Wednesday. Right, you are going to have to go, my dear. Thank you. Just looking after her for a little bit. She's a cool dog. Right, we're going to get straight into it. First of all, we have our Patreon questions as always. We put out the question to our patrons and supporters. They come straight back to us, and these are the questions. First off then is Jamie Hill. He says, morning guys, when insulating and boarding a van, what's the best advice for behind a three-way fridge? Do I leave it a bare panel with necessary venting, or insulate as normal, just cutting through to the vents? A very good question, Jamie. When I have insulated and sound deaden an older van, say, with a three-way fridge, I will always leave as big a cavity as possible between the back of the fridge and the actual metal outer skin of the van. So to that end, to answer your question, I would sound deaden the panel only with the likes of the Dodo hex mat, of which you can buy from our shop. I'll leave the link down below in the description. And then I would leave it bare, no insulation on there at all. Because there is, well, it's not a naked flame at all. It's not a naked flame because there is heat generated behind the back of the fridge, much with any sort of refrigerator in a camper van really. You want to leave as much room as you can for ventilation. I hope that answers your question. Cheers, Jamie. Next is from Chris Haldane. Chris is one of our newest Patreon supporters, so welcome to you, Chris, and thanks for supporting us. He says, morning, just starting to think and plan for a DIY T6 conversion in 2022. The channel has been a big part of it, and I'm sure will continue to be. Do you think the insanely high used van prices will continue through to 2022? Or are you seeing any signs of prices dropping as lockdown eases? What's pushing prices so high? I'll start with the last question first. The prices are high at the moment because it's a question of supply and demand. Demand being that during these times where international or even European travel is restricted, people are looking to do more staycations and using a camper van to get around and maybe have a cheaper holiday on a campsite. So to that end, camper vans throughout the market, and we're talking from the smallest, say VW Caddy, all the way up to the largest motorhome, you can't make them enough or sell them quick enough at the moment because everybody wants one. So that's why demand's high. I believe this will continue for another year, so prices will remain higher than normal. However, there are still bargains to be had if you look hard enough. I would actually start looking at dealers who have used vans in from organisations such as British Gas or RSPCA. A friend of ours, in fact, we're speaking to him later, Jed from Campervan Culture, he's just picked up a really nice T5.1 twin slider for a very reasonable price, and it's VW dealership serviced and things like that. So van prices will come down eventually, but there are still bargains to be had. So don't lose faith just yet. If you've got, say, a T6 as your dream van, one will become available. And generally, if you are looking to buy a van before 2022, Christmas time is actually the best time to buy, or very early in the new year is the best time to buy a van. I hope that helps. Next question then is from Andy Evers, or Evers. Sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly. He says, hi Lee and the team, I hope you are well. I'm just about to start building my furniture, but I'm not sure what fridge to go with. Do you have any views on which type or brand of fridge to go with? Cheers for all your fantastic advice, Andy. So Andy, we have used a few fridges over the years. However, the one that always comes back to us, or the one that we use more so, is the Waco CRX50. That is a very good size fridge for the likes of a T5, T6 conversion, for example, smaller van. I believe it's 40 to 50 litres, but they will go all the way up to a larger fridge if you did want one for a larger camper van or motorhome, say. They do come in different configurations, the Waco. It's either Waco Dometic what's the other brand they're called? I can't remember, Electrolux or something they were called back in the day. They all get rebranded all the time. So the Waco or Dometic, they come in a design that is a normal chest fridge, say, that we have featured on the channel before. I will leave a link down to that video down below. They come in a drawer version that might be useful to go underneath your rock and roll bed, or they come in almost a design where you can, if space is limited, you can have the main compartment of a fridge in one space, and then you can move the actual compressor part to another part of the van, not like the other side of the van, but another area, so you can optimize the space that's given. And I've used that before in a slimline conversion above a wheel arch of the van, for example. So the chest fridge was at one point, the compressor was just above the wheel arch where there's not as much room. So they come in lots of different configurations, but Waco for definite, Dometic, depending on what name it is this week, they change all the time. The other alternative, if you're on more of a budget, is the Vitrifico, but if you look at the likes of Caravans, there's always new alternatives that are coming onto the market because the market's so strong. So have a look around. Thanks for your question. Next is from Sam Bryan. He says, hi guys, thank you, and can't thank you enough for the podcast. Can't talk today. Hey guys, can't thank you enough for the podcast and the content on YouTube. Reckon I have saved myself a few grand by following along with you and doing most of the day van myself. Cheers. Question 1. There's 3, so you're lucky there's not many questions today, Sam. Question 1. Not slept in my van yet, but anticipating condensation to be a drama. What would you recommend to mitigate a dehumidifier? Question mark. No. The 2 main things that will alleviate any sort of condensation in a van is a good insulation, good lining. Sorry, good insulation, and that includes the lining in like ply lining, and ventilation. Imagine yourself, and I was trying to describe this to somebody the other day, imagine a small 2-man tent, for example. If you're sleeping in a 2-man tent without an inner tent, if you wake up in the morning, there's always condensation on the inside of the tent, right? And so if you get up, you sit up in the morning and your head touches the top, you're soaking because your head's got the condensation on it. But what they do to stop you having a wet head in the morning or wet clothes because things have been resting on the inside of the tent is by putting an inner tent inside that. That leaves an air gap all the way around the inner tent, or effectively an insulation layer. So that is what your insulation will do in terms of condensation in your van. It will give you another layer for the air to circulate around. It will separate the warm air on the inside of the tent to the cold air on the the warm air on the inside of the van to the cold air on the outside of the van, and prevent condensation taking place. So you don't need a dehumidifier, no. Make sure the van's properly insulated, and make sure there's ventilation. So crack open a window or have vents fitted, or even a skylight. Question 2. Sam says, I'm a bit worried about fire safety with my little one on board. What's the minimum precaution / kit you would make / get? Funnily enough, we covered this in a previous Q&A. Again, I'll leave a link up here so you can click on it straight away, that covered fire extinguishers, so I won't go into it again today. You can get, say, a blanket that will go over your hob if you're that concerned. However, I'm a bit worried, Sam, about what you're going to be doing inside your van to make fires. I mean, there shouldn't be many things that should be catching fire in your van unless it's been wired up by a complete cowboy, for example. The hob sink should only ever be used when you need it. You certainly shouldn't use your hob for heating or anything like that. The only thing that I think would cause a fire is potentially a naked flame from a candle, for example, or the hob in your van if you've got one fitted. But I guess just being very, very careful as well is the way is a good precaution. Question number 3. Sam says, I don't fancy drilling into the outside of the van just yet for an awning rail. What are your thoughts and experiences on the suction or magnetic systems? Much cop, or do they have the braking strain of a Kit Kat? I've never used the suction or the magnetic systems, so I cannot comment, I'm afraid. However, if you've got a decent driveway awning they might have a series of straps that would go over your van to hold the awning in place. That's the only real experience. However, you can get nice discreet or C-channel awning rails, for example. Say if you had a Transit Custom or a VW T5 T6, there are actually C-channel awning rails that are designed to fit within the roof line, so you don't visibly see them when you're looking at the side of the van, for example. And yeah, I guess it's a thing to be worried about drilling into the side of your van, but if you follow our guidelines on the, what was the name of the awning rail we did, Ali? Crikey, I'm trying to think of it now. There was Fiamma awning, but there was the awning rail itself. It was, gosh, I can't believe. I will leave a link to that video down in the description again. The awning rail is very attractive. It's not just one of these cut off pieces, it actually blends in with the contours of the van, and they're kind of universal fit as well. So even if you had a Vivaro or a Transit Custom or a T5 T6, they're designed to blend in nicely with the side of your van. I'll leave a link down to how we fitted that down below. And that's it for Patreon. Thank you everybody for sending in a question. We are now on to Instagram stories, and only 2 there today. First is from @SteveJames9003. He says, what smart charger is best to fit to a T6 and T6.1? Obviously, you understand that the smart alternators will need a smart charger, for example, or a B2B charger, battery to battery charger. We've covered that in a video. Again, I'll leave that down in the description. The one we are trialing at the moment is the Victron. The name escapes me, but it's the Victron smart charger, which is an excellent piece of kit, mainly because you can hook it up to an app on your phone via Bluetooth, and you can closely look at all the power in and power out in terms of the battery to battery controller or split charge relay. A very, very good piece of kit, but we have used C-Techs in the past, which are very good as well, because you can bring in the power from a solar panel, for example, the leisure battery and the 240. There's lots of different options out there. However, the one I'm most excited about at the moment is the new Victron. Again, I will leave a link down to which Victron we have used. Next one on Instagram stories then. What is your favorite era of transporter and why? Says Mr. Dan, @Mr. Dan 8888. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know that the VW T3 or T25 is my favorite era of van. I've owned plenty of them. I think they're just brilliant because they retain some of the character from the older vans with having a few of the mod cons, and there's lots of different engine possibilities and drivetrain possibilities for them as well. You can have them in 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, high top, double cab pickups, single cab pickups, all sorts of transporters. In fact, I currently own 2, but I've had probably 30 in the past as well. I absolutely love them to bits. And that's it for today. Thank you very much, everybody, for your questions. I'm glad you could meet Bronte the dog as well. She may feature in some up and coming videos. If you've got any further questions and you want them personally answered by myself or the team, please be sure to go to Patreon on our website at www.coomvalleycampers.co.uk, become a patron supporter from £3 a month, and we can personally answer any questions you have. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.